I think like she asked the entire cast of Glee, I think, or was it just the guys, to be in the video if we wanted to be, and I think Darren and I were the only ones that were down to do it.
Because you're down to...
Yeah, we're like, we'll go like mess around and see what happens. And it was great. I was just like making a joke that I had actually also texted my friend, and I was like, that's funny, I'm just gonna tweet it.
Yeah.
And then people assumed it was like coming out, but it's like, you guys, it's not like I had necessarily been hiding it. I just wasn't someone who was, I don't know, I'm not someone who would generally post about who I'm with anyway. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was very strange. I'm still baffled. During Glee, we didn't have any personal lives really.
Yeah.
Which I was happy with because working is my favorite thing to do, and we were working on a show that we loved and had a great time doing. And so when the show ended, I was 27? Yeah, or 26, I don't know. The show ended, and then it was like, oh, wait, I can go hang out with my friends who I haven't seen in 6 years or 7 years.
Yeah.
Or I was living in Los Angeles as an adult for the first time.
Lauren Angle. Today I'm here with Kevin McGill.
Hey.
So are your parents originally Irish, or is it like way back down?
I think it's like 4 generations.
Oh really?
back.
Like
yeah, I can't technically get my Irish passport.
Oh really?
Oh, you put on your sunglasses. I'll put on my sunglasses. Yeah, because I looked into it because I had a couple friends who got their Italian passports.
Yeah, I heard of that.
Yeah, because like 3 generations back or something, but I'm one too far to get it.
Oh, I just missed it.
Yeah, so I'm stuck here.
So what did your parents do, or when you were growing up?
Growing up, there were 4 kids, so my mom was a stay-at-home mother, so she had to put up with all of us. Mm-hmm. And my dad worked in like the telecom industry.
Oh, okay.
Doing things that you do in the telecom. I don't know. I'm not really sure what he did.
Where do you think you got your creative side from?
They're both pretty creative. My mom sang.
Oh wow.
And my dad actually writes these like really random and funny sort of poems.
Oh.
He always used to joke about them, and then recently I've forced him to start writing them down and sending to me so I could collect all of them.
Oh,
and they're actually great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Should publish them.
Yeah, eventually. Eventually I will.
Was your mom doing it like professionally, singing, or?
No, she just always like sang around the house, and she was a huge, I think like theater nerd growing up.
Oh, okay.
Like loved going. She grew up in New York, so she would go into Broadway, like with her mom, and go see shows and stuff. So she was always very into that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, when did they move here?
Well, we moved to Texas. They moved from like New England to Texas before I was born, and then I accidentally showed up. And then we moved out to LA when I was 15.
Oh, okay.
And then they moved back to Texas when I was 18. Mm-hmm. I've been out here on my own ever since.
What kind of music was played in the house when you were growing up?
Everything. My dad was, or is, a gigantic Elvis fan. So like on the way to school we'd listen to Elvis or the Temptations or the Bee Gees. Mm-hmm. But from my siblings I would listen to like Boyz II Men or Green Day, Red Hot Chili Peppers. I was obsessed with like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and you know, all the pop people.
Yeah.
So it was an eclectic mix, a little bit of everything.
Were you already singing a lot when you were younger?
Yeah.
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 Like from the onset.
Yeah. There's a video of me when I was 6 and my sister got married, and I sang. Like my jam at the time was to sing "I Just Can't Wait to Be King" from The Lion King.
Yeah.
So there's like a video of me being, you know, this high, like singing that at the end of her wedding.
And did you always know that you would be a singer, I guess? Or like was that a passion that just hit you and you were like, this is my life?
I don't think I always say like I never realized you could do it as a job. You know, you're like growing up, it was like, oh, well there's people who do that professionally. And then I just liked to sing. It didn't ever occur to me that I'm like, oh, I could pursue this professionally. I wanted to be a weatherman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wanted to be a meteorologist or an architect. That was my
That's so cool.
plan.
But how did those like interests came? Just like randomly.
Yeah, I think I was deathly afraid of tornadoes. Growing up in Texas, there were tornadoes all the time. So then because I was scared of it, I was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And I would watch the Weather Channel all the time. Like my brother's friends would give him crap. He's like, your brother's always watching the Weather Channel. Because I needed to make sure there weren't any tornadoes coming.
God.
So then I would like film myself doing the weather. I would like make a whole like map of the United States and then, yeah.
That's so cute. How else would you describe your personality back then growing up?
I was deathly shy. Like so shy. At home, I'd be on the countertop singing and filming myself doing the weather.
Yeah.
And outgoing. But as soon as we went out in public, I would like hide behind my parents.
Oh, do you know like why it was such a big disparity?
I have no idea. Because my dad is super social, can talk to anybody, gets along with everyone. So I don't really know what it was. But at some point when I moved out to LA and started pursuing things in the entertainment business, that sort of went away, and I realized I needed to be able to talk to people.
Yeah. And then how did you first get into the music industry, like with the boy band?
It was random. Like I started coming out to LA to audition, and I had a dance agent at the time as well, which is funny because I'm not that good. Like you start going on these dance auditions, you're like, oh, this is a whole different like class of dancer.
Wait,
like
so
I don't belong. So that I ended up
when you were doing
14.
And how did you have an agent? Like, was your mom like just going with you to all these things, or how did it happen?
Yeah, my sister was an agent in Texas, and so she was the one like, you should, to my mom, like you should take him out to LA to like pursue it just to see. And then we ended up liking it and decided to move here. Not just for that, but also because my parents wanted to move here, and my mom was sort of the anti-Sage mom. In a way, where it would be like, do you really want to go on the audition?
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah. She's like, but there's traffic. And so it was just nice. I could live here and then also pursue that, and there wasn't the pressure of like, oh my god, we're only in California for a couple weeks, I gotta try to like get a job, which is crazy for like a teenager to be thinking. Yeah. So it was nice, and then I made, my whole life out here.
Other than like your sister pushing you, like what kind of made you really want it?
I mean, she was the one that she just suggested it, but it was just, I think, instinctual or innate for me to want to do that. I was always entertaining my family, and once I realized I could do it, or I was at least good enough to compete, to try to do it, there was never any turning back.
I find that so interesting because you were like shy to the public, so then it's like this. Yeah,
you put me on stage, I was completely fine.
Oh.
I remember a couple of years ago, or it was a while ago now, when people found out about Beyonce's like Sasha Fierce like persona, and it made a lot of sense to me like growing up, because like I would be super shy, but then once I would get on stage, I was a completely different person. Like I would black out and perform and have the time of my life.
Whoa.
And then go back to being like scared to talk to people.
Damn. And then, were you like taking time off school, or how were you doing it at such a young age?
A little bit, but I was homeschooled for a year, like when I moved here. Yeah. And then that was not my jam, and I was like, I can't do that. And so then I went back to school here. So I went to high school in California, but I just didn't do any extracurricular things at school. Yeah. I wasn't on any teams or anything, because after school, that's when I would do all the other stuff, like when I was in the boy band or go on auditions and things like that. Yeah. Did everyone in your class like knew that you were doing all this? Or? I tried to keep it from them because I didn't like. One, I don't like talking about myself, so this is funny, and then two, I just wanted to. I didn't want to be looked at. It's hard enough in high school to like, get along with people, and I moved to a new state, and I wanted to just make friends, and that's hard on its own. Never mind, like, hey guys, I'm in a boy band, which is not the coolest thing to ever tell anybody. I told some of my best friend in high school, we'd be like recording our music at nighttime, and then I would bring the song to school the next day and like show her. She's like, that's not you singing, because she didn't know me as like a singer. She's like, that's not you. I'm like, it is me. Yeah. I'm like, it absolutely is. She's like, no, it's not. I'm like, well, when we film the music video, you can cut.
What was it like though, from like singing on your own at home to like having this like whole, like I guess when you're in a boy band, it's kind of like a machine, right? You're like going into all the sessions. Was it easy for you to
I think it was,
get into the...
I think it was sort of the dream.
Yeah.
Like, at least for me growing up watching like MTV and TRL and watching all the pop artists, and then to be able to go on tour and have dance rehearsals and to be hanging out in a recording studio, that was all these things that were, you know, I grew up dreaming about doing. And so I was able to do them. Even though the boy band wasn't successful, it was an incredible experience to like spend my sort of high school years doing that and learning how to deal with adults, because you're going to meetings and record labels and all these things, and I think it was the best sort of teaching for me for my whole career, for my life.
And was it easy to transition to all the acting?
Yeah, I always did. I started doing acting first.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, the boy band thing happened, but I was still doing acting and, like, random things here and there as I would get things.
And actually, with Glee, like, you were trying to put out some music while you were still filming it, right? Like, solo music.
I did.
But it kind of got shelved.
Yeah, it was. I had a really great relationship with the label that Glee was signed with, and they sort of gave a lot of us, any of us who were interested in it, the opportunity to like work on music, go work with producers and writers and things. And it was just, more than anything, it was unrealistic that we'd be able to put anything out because we didn't have time to promote anything. So that's what they were worried about. And then for me, I didn't know what I was doing musically. I was like, cool, I'm not going to say no to like the opportunity to go work with all these people.
Was it kind of like Justin Bieber-y sounding? I think you said one time,
Yeah, it was just, and it wasn't any of their fault. It was, I just didn't know how to say no to things, or be like, I don't really like this, I don't see this as me. And so I just did it all. And I think that was probably from growing up and being in a boy band where it's like you don't have any of the control and you just do the music they tell you to do.
Yeah. And
so I was like, I can't tell them no, they're giving me this opportunity.
Yeah.
So that, again, it was another really valuable learning experience.
And then what happened after that?
I sort of gave up on the whole music thing for a little bit because I was very confused about what to do. And then, you know, Glee took up most of my time and all the other stuff I was already doing outside of it. So, you know, I focused on acting.
But then were you always like writing original music like at home still?
That would always be happening. And one of my best friends, Justin, who produced my music now with me and he directed my music video, he has lived with me for 7 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he was in the boy band with me.
Oh, okay.
And he is an incredible like producer, and so he was always an artist himself, and he was always going into sessions with other artists, or so we would work on music together sometimes and write stuff together, and all of our friends are sort of we all push each other to do what we think, you know, like, you're so talented, you should keep doing that. So they would come to me and be like, why aren't you making music? I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it.
And what was it like doing the Katy Perry video?
Oh, that was madness. I think, like, she asked the entire cast of Glee, I think, or was it just the guys, to be in the video if we wanted to be, and I think Darren and I were the only ones that were down to do it.
You're down to...
Yeah, we're like, we'll go, like, mess around and see what happens. And it was great. She was super cool. It was a gigantic video shoot.
Oh, wow.
I mean, there were a billion people there, and she saw me and she's like, he looks too silver, like, cool, we need to fuck him up. So then they, you know, made me extra dorky, and it was just fun. She was, like, on top of the world at that time, and it was like one of those fun things. You're like, I don't know why anyone asked me to be in their music video. Sure. Why not?
And then how did music become a bigger and bigger part of your life in the past few, I guess, years?
I think when I had more time to think about what I wanted to do or what was important to me, like, I've always done acting and music. And then I think just because I had time to actually work on things that I decided to start doing. You know, I talked about it for a while with my friends, and it just sort of happened organically.
Yeah.
Where we, like, went to mess around in the studio, and then some songs came out. So we're like, oh. Because I've done it in the past where I thought I was onto something, and I showed my friend Wednesday. I was like, what do you think of the song we just did? And she's like, this doesn't sound like you. Like, what do you mean? I wrote it.
Yeah.
It's about my experience. It's my voice. She's like, yeah, but it's not you. It's not your personality. And I was like, what? I don't get it. And then we started working on, that was a couple years ago, and then we started working on this new batch of songs, and immediately she was like, yes, this is you. And I was like, I get it now. Because it's hard to really inject your personality where, like, if people know you from somewhere, like people know me from Glee, they don't really know my real personality. And to be able to inject that into your music can be difficult. Some people, it's easy. I think for me, up until now, it had been difficult. And for some reason, it just came out. And so, here we are.
Yeah. And then were you just signed solo for assigned with a record label for your solo stuff?
Yeah, well, that was the thing. So then we wanted to figure out how are we going to put this music out.
Yeah.
Do we want to go to bigger labels? And I was like, well, I don't know what I want this to be. And luckily, I met with Vydia, who's the company putting it out, but it's not like a traditional record deal. It's sort of like this 2019 version of like being an indie artist, because you have 100% creative control. Now this sounds like an ad, but this is but so like I would go into the meetings with them and they'd be like, okay, so like what do you want to do? And it was baffling, where I'd be like, what do you mean, what do I want to do? Like, you tell me. You're like, no, like, you're the one, like, we're supporting you.
Yeah.
Like, they sort of incentivize you and financially support you so you can make music videos, and they help market it and do all that. And on the other side of it, me and all my friends get to make cool shit, and no one's sitting there being like, no, you shouldn't do this, or no, we can't do that. It's like, whatever we want to do. Which is fun, because at this point, me and all my friends have been doing this for a long time, and so now it's a way for us to, you know, use our abilities to actually make stuff and put it out there and just see what sticks, see if people like it or not.
Is that something interesting for you? Because, like, everything was like, you were saying yes to all this, and suddenly you feel like you have this, like, control in your life?
Yeah.
Was it like kind of like, wait, I can just do, like, was it surprising to you?
It was strange.
Yeah.
It was really weird. Because at first, like, I had to go back and, like, talk to Justin. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, they're not, like, telling me what to do. And I know this sounds really lame, and probably, like, I was like, okay, they're not telling you what to do. But I guess I'd sort of been conditioned for the past, I don't know, 2 decades that, like, the big company or whatever is the one telling you what to do, because they're the one funding the project. So, like, yes, you can make your music, but also it has to go through a lot of people to get approved. And in this, it's not like that at all. This is like, here are the songs, here's the track list I want to do, here are the pictures I want to do. But, like, after the fact that I've already done them, you're like, great, cool, love it, let's do it. So it doesn't really matter. Like, they're just down to support no matter what.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Is acting something that you consciously are, like, doing less of, or to spend all your time doing music now?
No, I don't think I'm consciously, like, I'm not, like, turning things down. It's just there hasn't been a lot of opportunity, I guess, for me. And, like, that's acting's like that. I think I've always thought of it as not a hobby, but because it can be so fickle and come and go, that I'm not someone who's going to sit around and get really upset if I'm not working all the time. Like, no, there's other things I like doing, so let's just do everything. And so when an acting thing comes up, then that's what I'll do. But for now, this is what's happening.
What are your inspirations for your upcoming music videos?
Oh, that's tough. I grew up watching, my biggest memories as a kid growing up were watching music videos. Like, I would put on MTV or VH1 on every TV in the house. So any room I walked into had music videos playing. I was obsessed with it. And so for these, we wanted to do as many videos as possible for the songs. Hopefully there'll be a video for each song. And it was, some of them are a bigger production. This is not really answering your question about my I really like sort of weird videos. Like videos that seemingly look like a normal music video, but then something's just off about them. Where they have a lot of personality in them, where they can be, I like simple but super effective, memorable things. So I don't need to spend $1 million on a video and doing all these complicated big things. I mean, that would be great, sure. But I think it's also more effective to do something that's maybe simpler and more memorable. Yeah. Like for Help Me Now, I think a big inspiration was like the Fatboy Slim video with Christopher Walken dancing around, because like we knew we wanted to do something dancing but not really taking it seriously. And I've always loved that video, and I've always loved when people who aren't dancers, or you know, they're not like J-Lo getting up there, and or like a K-pop group getting up there where you know they're going to be incredible, or it's more about the personality. And that was our big inspiration for the Help Me Now music video, at least.
How about the lyrics for Help Me Now?
The lyrics were just about me being an insecure idiot, and really just, as you say in 2019, unpacking that. And like, why am I being such an insecure idiot? And sort of like a role play of, let's think of all the worst scenarios that I could come up with and figure out like why I would ever feel that way. And then recognize that I don't need to ever feel that way. And work through it. It's good. It's like therapy.
What's the inspiration behind Younger?
Younger was straight up just about, well, so that song started with my friend Justin coming up with the Younger part, where it was just a line, back when we were younger. And immediately I just got nostalgic, and I knew I wanted to write a song about my previous relationship, and wanted to do it where it wasn't like some big heartbreak, you know, it was a terrible breakup and all, because that's not how it was. It was sort of unemotional in a lot of ways, because we're still best friends. And we grew up together. Our families, like, we're family. And so I really wanted to be able to sort of nostalgically reflect upon our whole time together, and then also reflect upon like how our relationship has changed, but we still have like an incredible friendship. I
love that. And what would you say were the big themes for Boy in general?
I think Younger does a good job of summing my intentions for the whole EP, where it was a lot of it was reflecting on things that I had already been through, and figuring out, you know, sort of like the 30,000 feet up view of like why they happened, how do I feel about them now, and sort of like moving forward past all of that.
And when you came out, was it like accidental? It was through like Facebook or something, right? Like trying to figure it out.
There was like a tweet, I think people latched onto it and assumed it was like a coming out. I was just like making a joke that I had actually also texted my friend, and I was like, that's funny, I'm just gonna tweet it. And then people assumed it was a coming out, but it's like, you guys, it's not like I had necessarily been hiding it. I just wasn't someone who was, I don't know, I'm not someone who would generally post about who I'm with anyway. And it was very strange. I'm still baffled by how that sort of became a thing for like 24 hours.
Was that a conscious decision that you wanted to not be so open on that aspect, or?
And I think I had just gotten I think I just gotten used to it too, because my big thing. I guess your
close friends already knew, and like fans,
and to me that's like all my family and all my friends knew, and they had always known. So like that, so I never felt like, and I never really ever had like a proper coming out or something like that. So I'm not good at that, because I've never really had to do it. And so for me, if the people that are most important in my life knew, then I wasn't really trying to, you know, I didn't think other people would care. And at that point too, I was like, well, now it's gone on for so many years that like, how do I now retroactively like fix this situation? And it was good. I think it was good. It's absolutely better that people know if they didn't know. So I'm glad that happened. But it was just so odd how it did.
Actually, like way back when, like when you were younger, how did it happen? Did your parents kind of already knew, and your sister?
No, it was my siblings.
Oh, so they
Totally
asked you,
my
or?
siblings. Yeah, it happened. Like my sister once, I was like trying to like hide it from her, and she's like, I was talking to my friend on the phone. She's like, "Who are you talking about?" I'm like, "No one." She's like, "Is it a boy?" I'm like, "Yes." And then she started crying. I'm like, "What?" She's like, "You could have told me." She's like, "I wouldn't have cared." I'm like, but I was never someone who was like, I don't know, like torn up about it. Like I never had a problem with myself being gay.
Yeah.
So I was like, it wasn't a big deal for me, but it was for her because I think she was worried that I was keeping it from her or her family because I was worried about what they would think, and that wasn't the case. It was like, no, I was like a teenager who was just awkward and didn't want to talk about people I was into with my family.
How old were you at this point?
I think it was 18 or 19.
Oh, okay.
And then my brothers. It was like me and my two brothers were in London. The first time it was actually the first time the three of us had ever been to London, period.
Oh, wow.
And it was like during the first season of Glee. And we were at a club the first night. And my one brother like leans over to me, he's like, "Hey, by the way, we know. And we don't care."
You're like,
I'm like, cool. Like took a sip of the drink. I'm like, all right, great. Let's carry on. And it just sort of like I think they told my parents or something. I still don't even really know. I think they told my parents.
Yeah, but I guess for the 18 years, was this just something that you kind of bottled inside? Because that's like pretty long time of your life, right?
I guess so. A little bit. Yeah, but like I was also growing up like super into girls as well. So it wasn't like there was that part of me that was like, I might be into guys. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah.
But I hadn't really ever like messed around, had hooked up with a guy until I was like 18. So it all sort of culminated and like the first guy I was ever into like emotionally was the one who I ended up dating for 7 years. So yeah, once they started, like those things started to present themselves, then like people knew. Yeah. Because I wasn't necessarily hiding it as things got more serious. It's like it's hard being a teenager anyway, or it's hard being in your early 20s and navigating life, period.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, there's no like guidebook of this is how you're supposed to like function in like a heteronormative society when you're gay. Like, so I'm just like, stumbling through it like everybody else. And it's inspirational, like when you see other people who are kids who like come out super early and know who they are and know how to present themselves. That's hard. I still don't know how to do that. So, everybody's different, and mine was just a little bit messier.
How would you say you've grown as a person compared to when you were younger?
Oh. I would say I've just gotten better at speaking up for myself.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I would just say yes to everything, and I really learned by having I think I've gotten a really great friend group, and they've taught me things like that, and and I've picked up, as you do from your friends. I'm like, oh, that's a great quality. I need to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And so they've taught me how to do that.
What else would you say have been the biggest challenge of your life so far?
I think the other thing which was a really odd and funny thing to think about, for me at least, was during Glee, we didn't have any personal lives really. Yeah. Which I was happy with because working is my favorite thing to do, and we were working on a show that we loved and had a great time doing. And so when the show ended, I was 27? Yeah. Or 26. I don't know. The show ended, and then it was like, oh, wait. I can go hang out with my friends who I haven't seen in 6 years or 7 years.
Yeah.
Or I was living in Los Angeles as an adult for the first time.
Right.
Which is a really weird thing because I've lived here for half my life, but I was now an adult and had free time. I have a house, my life has changed, but like all my friends are still the exact same, and I had to figure out like, what do people do? Where do people go hang out? Like, no one in LA is working. Why is every restaurant full at
like
3 p.m.
Yeah.
And so it was a really weird thing to adjust to, like relearning the city that I love. And I'm like, oh, maybe I don't like this part of LA that much, you know, these types of people and that sort of thing. And so learning to be an adult in Los Angeles was sort of like a weird readjustment to, like, I've lived here for 15 years, so it was a weird thing to, like, why do I feel differently about this place? And that may sound really lame, but it took me a while to realize that's what was going on. It's like, oh, I have time to go do things now.
What does love mean to you?
I think it means being your worst and best and grossest and cutest, or whatever that is.
I love it though.
In front of your people and having them feel that comfortable to do that back to you. And whether it's friends or family, I think when you can, like, it's always like, I equate it to like when you are getting a relationship or start a new friendship and the first time like you fart in front of one another and you're okay with it, like that's love.
That's so quotable.
Like it's so gross. Like, you know, when you can be that comfortable and you're not worried about being judged, and that's just one way to do it. But I feel like that's love, where you just, it's encouragement, it's support, it's all of that.
Yeah. Last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
I think being a nice human.
Yeah.
I think just being a nice human. Because, you know, everyone faces their daily struggles. You wake up on the wrong side of the bed one day, you have a shitty day, and it's hard to like maintain being nice all the time, and you're not going to maintain that every day. But if overall I did a pretty good job at being nice as much as possible, then I'd be good with that.
Yeah, I love it. This was so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.